Dear audience, welcome to Reader's channel, and today I'm going to show how the poor condemn themselves to becoming poorer. At the same time, I offer them 5 strategies to adopt for becoming financially free. For getting to the heart of today's subject, I would like to start by asking this question and answering it in order to help you understand how the poor condemn themselves to becoming poorer and poorer. This question is none other than this: how the poor condemn themselves to becoming poorer and poorer. The answer is simple. The poor do not raise awareness to understand the reason for their poverty, which keeps them poor. Once you are enlightened and think rationally about the real causes of poverty and how to get out of it, you are no longer poor, because terrible poverty is the state of mind, ignorance. Based on their observation of the behavior of the rich, should they not take inspiration from it and change their mentality to free themselves from poverty? Seeing how the situation of the poor is getting worse, it's as if the majority of them have not had the chance to understand the environment and benefit from it. For the moment, in order to give my contribution in the direction of improving the living conditions of the masses, which conditions are deteriorating more and more, I take this opportunity to share with you the vital observation of the causes underlying poverty that's getting worse, according to the point of view of enlightened intellectuals, economists, and at the same time give you proposal of strategies to adopt for getting rid of the shackles of poverty. It's then time to present to you 5 vital observations which are the causes underlying poverty, and at the same time 5 corresponding strategies to adopt in order to achieve financial freedom. Let's go. Number 1. The poor class often have the problem of professional incompetence due to lack of access to quality education, which becomes more and more expensive. In general, ensuring quality education for your children costs you a lot. The reason is that public education does not benefit from sufficient subsidies in general, while they are inclusive. And the last resort remains private education, which discriminates against those who do not have financial means, for saying that those who do have access are few in number, those of the wealthy class. The consequences are professional incompetence, and financially there is the lack of access to decent wages by the children of the poor. Then an appropriate strategy to adopt against this situation is the following: improving their professional skills after school is more than necessary for people who have not benefited from a quality education. Professional competence is doubly necessary for them when they still work as employees and as entrepreneurs. Here, you are right once you ask me how it's possible that they can finance this training while their families are often poor and their salaries are not decent. There is one proverb that says there is strength in numbers. Those who have real means have an interest in coming together for being able to bear the cost of training in order to access decent salaries in the professional life. Also, at the end of studies of the children of the poor, they are less competitive on the job market. This case tends to become widespread almost in all countries. I believe it's naive to believe that the trend is close to reversing given the unfavorable economic circumstances, some of which are more likely to become structural economic problems. For greater resilience in this difficult and continuing situation, it's suggested to parents who do not have the possibility of ensuring quality education for their children to put together the financial means to finance the intellectual supervision of compensation during the vacation and the weekend. Here, it's also very necessary to understand that the children of the poor families need to be brave in doing too much research in the direction of improving their performance, knowing that they had not benefited the same chances as those of the rich class. That's why there must be an effort of compensation to be made. Number 2, the lack of financial education impacts negatively the process of liberation from poverty. Here, I suggest that people who have this kind of problem to come together to bear together the cost, the price of paying a financial advisor in the form of a monitor to be paid permanently. Number 3, the problem often observed in the lack of vision, which translates into lack of prioritization. For example, identify the tools you need the most to change the course of your life. Let me help you. Everyone needs to know the language spoken by the majority in general, and particularly in the area he wants to carry out his activities, and must make effort to be able to speak and write it. Also, identify the profession which is known by few and has high demand, and master it for diversifying significantly your income. Number 4, when difficulties, whatever their nature, fall on societies, it's the poor who suffer the most. But here I put a lot of emphasis on economic difficulties. Let's say, for example, when there is inflation which continues to increase, which is also the case in several countries. Here, what we must understand is that inflation hits hard consumers whose purchasing power decreases, and heavy consequences fall on them from all directions. Unfortunately, salaries do not increase proportionally with inflation. Wages often stagnate, and inflation continues to rise, which were previously often derisory, which ultimately makes the situation worse. Here, the strategy to adopt for cushioning the shock of low wages and even shelter oneself from the hurricane of inflation, which most threatens the poor, is imperatively to leave the status of simple consumers to embrace the status producers in one word, become entrepreneurs, investors. It's difficult or even impossible to undertake or invest when you are subject to low salary, which does not allow you to save easily and significantly. Think about becoming a member of common investment funds, cooperatives. Too easy become an entrepreneur, investor with others and escape the vicious circle of poverty. Thus, it will be easy for you to build up assets and finally access passive income, and you will find yourself financially free. For more efficiency in management, those who have real means must collectively pay a financial advisor who would support them in escaping poverty by helping them to create stable passive income. Number 5. When government subsidies decrease, sectors which benefited from them enter into difficulties, and it should be cooperatives which should be the first to invest in key sectors such as agriculture, health, education, etc. The reason is that these are strategic sectors for global development. More importantly, these are sectors that concern the satisfaction of primary needs of the population. So, form large investment cooperatives to guarantee your survival and that of your future generations, even in the absence of state intervention. In conclusion, dear audience, I invite you to break down the barriers that divide you and work together in order to have the strength to stand firm in the face of accelerating economic, political, and social changes which negatively impact the poorest and thus handicaps economic growth while undermining the foundations of political and social stability. Thank you for being with me. For not missing my next videos, and in order to support the channel, subscribe, like, share, and comment. See you next time.